Hello, Flyers. My name is Mr. Buckley. I'm the principal here at LLA Ogden. I am so excited for this school year to get started. It's been a long time since we've seen our Flyers, so I'd like to introduce myself to those that are new. Well, welcome to our school. Welcome all the new Flyers and all the returning Flyers. I've been with LLA for I think 8 years now. I lost track, but I know 5 of the last 8 I've been the principal. 3 years at Layton and now the second year at Ogden. It's been a wild ride, and so this tutorial or this back to school night virtual introduction is going to talk about what we normally talk about on back to school night, but also adding some of the things that are going to be new, like what do students do when they enter the building? Where are they going to enter the building? We're going to split it up in different areas. What about masks? How do we wear masks? Are they required? We're going to answer all those questions for you just to make sure that you're aware of the new changes. The big thing that we wanted to talk about as well is that it is required that you have these conversations with your students. You don't send your students sick to school, and you help us in fighting this COVID-19 virus. We need to get back to normal soon. So if we work all together, which I know the Ogden community will come together, you're fantastic. I love being here, and so I know we're gonna do well with that. So click on the next slide where I'll walk you through all the new changes, and hopefully you enjoy this virtual back to school night. All right, first we're going to talk about hygiene. One of the best ways that you can practice good hygiene is washing your hands. So these are some guidelines. We'll post these throughout the school. First off, you got to wet your hands, get them nice and wet. Then you pump the soap on, scrub them until you get all those bubbles, and don't forget to get them between those fingers. And then also do that for about 20 seconds. Or you can teach some students, sing the ABCs. It'll give them some good opportunities to practice their ABCs or their numbers. After that, you'll rinse it and dry them off. Some other hygiene tips that we would recommend that we're gonna have is hand sanitizer throughout the school. When they go to lunch, and go into the classrooms, anytime they fill up their water bottles. I know some of the things, as you can see here, students are gonna be filling up their water bottles, and we're gonna be using hand sanitizer just to make sure that they do that when they enter the classroom. They'll be instructed to use some hand sanitizer, and the physical no contact. We don't want contact. I know I'm the biggest one with this, my high five, so I'm gonna give you air high fives. I know teachers are torn with this as well, but just make sure that we're practicing that during this time. Elbow bumps, waves, smiling, whatever it may be. You can do some dancing like some of the students did here, and make sure that you have your own unique way of saying hello. And so that's your hygiene tips. Check out the next slide. Next up, we have keeping your students home when they are sick. All right, next up, we have keeping your students home when they are sick. We need to make sure that we're doing our part in teaching our students what symptoms look like. Some of our younger kiddos, that might be hard. They're still trying to figure out their bodies. So as parents, we need to make sure that you don't send your students to school sick. Now, the state has come out with 6 different guidelines or symptoms that would qualify you for COVID testing that you need to make sure you don't send them. And that would include fever, decrease in smell or taste, cough, sore throat, shortness of breath, and muscle aches and pains. Now, there's also some other things that you shouldn't send your students to school sick. That would include, like it said, the fever of 100.4 or more, and as well as diarrhea, nausea, vomiting. Please keep your students home. That's going to keep our teachers safe. It's going to keep our students safe, and it'll help us eliminate a lot of the sicknesses in the school. So please follow those guidelines. It is our responsibility. Again, teach your students, do symptom checks in the morning. That way we can fight this together. All right, let's talk about morning drop-off. This might look a little bit different. One of the things that we want to stress is that adults, parents, should not be in the building unless they have an appointment. The health department wants us to minimize as much contact as possible and has given us the guidelines to not allow that to happen. So with that, we're gonna have 4 different entrances. The first entrance is going to be in our main entrance for the students, which will be for our leadership cluster 2, as well as our PC1 classrooms.
Welcome to LLA. Can we get your temperature? Oh.
The next entrance will be our kindergarten, and they will be doing this right outside the kindergarten doors.
Hi, welcome to LLA. Are you excited for kindergarten? Can I take your temperature? Okay, you're good to go.
And then the next one will be on the west side. This will be for our primary cluster 2 classrooms.
Good morning, how are you? Can I take your temperature? Yay. Okay, you're good to go.
And then the remaining classes will have on the recess doors, which is the south side of the building, and they will enter there.
Good morning. Can I take your temperature? Awesome, you're good to go.
We'll be doing, as you noticed, we'll be doing temperature checks as the students enter into our building, and just to ensure that they're not running a fever. And like I mentioned earlier of the signs, please talk with your students about the symptoms, that you shouldn't be sending them to school with that. Once they enter the school, they'll go toward their classrooms, which is different as well, instead of going straight to breakfast. Now, breakfast will be in the classrooms as of right now, where they'll eat. If you choose to send your students to school to eat breakfast, please let the school know, and we will get that for you. Next up, we have our wonderful masks. Now, we're required to wear masks, and any visitors, students, teachers, we will be wearing masks here to keep our students safe. That does create some questions, so I'm going to answer those questions. So masks are required for everyone. It does have to cover the nose, mouth, and there shouldn't be any openings on there. Now, when taking off a mask, the best thing to do, you don't want to grab it or push it down, but if you just grab it like this, that's going to be really the best way to taking off a mask. Now, there's some ways that you shouldn't wear your mask. Now, I have a couple examples that I'm going to show you here. Now, like I said before, those are some bad examples. Now, check out this really good example of one of our students wearing their LLA mask. Now that you've seen how to wear a mask, we are going to provide masks for our students. We'll give each student an LLA, a mask that looks like this, but that means other days the students are going to need masks, because you should clean your masks, wash your masks daily after each use. And so having multiple masks is recommended. If a student shows up to school, they will not be able to go into the classrooms without a mask. If students refuse to wear them in the classroom, please get with me, because they do need to have masks while here at the school to keep us safe. Walking in the halls, we will have directions that the students should follow in the main halls where the classrooms are. Now, there's arrows pointing to where they need to be. That way it minimizes the cross path of students. So students, please follow this. When you are walking, make sure that you're, even with masks on, make sure you have a distance that you can't touch the student in front of you to do that physical distancing. So that's another guideline that we want you to follow throughout the day. So be watching for those arrows. and follow this, and the same thing with the visitors. As if you check into the building and you have an appointment, please do follow these arrows and these directional patterns.